bleeding purple and gold. From the heart of Los Angeles, this is the LakersNation.com podcast with your host, Trevor Lane.
Welcome to today's show. As always, we are powered by CLNS Media and brought to you by Harry's Razors. Go to harrys.com/Lakers for an awesome deal on a phenomenal set of razors. And ZipRecruiter. Go to ziprecruiter.com/Lakers for all of your hiring needs. Now, right now, free agency is in full swing. The Lakers are kind of sitting on the sidelines at this point. They are trying to find some good players that'll take a one-year contract. And so for today's show, I'm going to bring in Lakers Nation's Hannah Kulik, and we're going to explain why the Lakers can only give out one-year deals, what's going on there, as well as dig into a few prospects that they may be interested in bringing in, namely Dion Waiters and Rajon RONDO. So let's get to it. Hannah, thanks so much for joining the show to talk about free agency.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored. Second time in a week.
That's right. Had to have you back. You know, we got into a lot of really good conversations in the last go round, so I figured we need to run it back and try this again now that we've got free agency in full swing. And of course, things are a little bit weird with the Lakers right now. I'm getting a lot of comments on Twitter, on various social medias, where people are just kind of unsure of what's going on with the Lakers. I'm getting a lot of these comments like why aren't the Lakers doing anything? Because they're seeing players like now Paul Millsap getting signed by Denver. They're seeing other teams making moves, and there's this frustration out there that the Lakers aren't really doing much. So I figure we should probably start things off just by discussing what the Lakers strategy is exactly here. We should kind of explain that. So what's your take on kind of what the Lakers are doing at this point?
Yeah, I actually tweeted something earlier today that said, if the Lakers would want to sign someone soon, that would be great. But, that's just my inner, Laker fan talking. But I understand this is, the Lakers' entire, plan. It's actually kind of playing into exactly what Magic Johnson and Pelinka have been telling the fans over and over again, which really is, this year's not really going to be the year that we're going to go out and sign any big names. It's going to be 2018. That's going to be our summer of really bringing in these big-time players. But, I think as fans, we get excited. We kind of hear some rumors and some rumblings, and we get kind of impatient. But, it's really still sticking to their original plan of just kind of, taking their time, being patient, making sure that they are able to get in a couple of key guys that could just, go on those one-year deals. And, again, just not really signing any stars and just keeping cap space open and, making room for 2018.
Exactly. Rob Pelinka said the other day that, I forget which press conference it was, but he said that the 2018 cap space, they're treating it as sacred. So they're not going to do anything to touch that cap space. And for a lot of free agents, they don't want one-year deals. Yeah, we saw J.J. Redick sign for a one-year deal, but he got $23 million from Philadelphia. J.J. Redick is not worth $23 million per year, but the reason why he got it is because he agreed to take a one-year deal so that Philly has their 2018 cap space free. So the Lakers are looking to do the same thing, just sign players for 1 year and that's it. So they keep that space free because 2018 is the summer that Paul George becomes available, and we'll get into the Paul George trade in just a little bit. LeBron James, DeMarcus Cousins, possibly Russell Westbrook, Chris Paul, right? All these names that are going to be on the market in 2018, those are the guys the Lakers are wanting to target. And so if they spend money now, if they give somebody a 2-year deal, then they could be sacrificing one of those stars. They could lose their shot at one of those guys. So they can't really jump into the fray with some of these players that we're seeing signing different contracts throughout the league. I mean, Blake Griffin, right, signs a 5-year deal with the Clippers. I mean, you can't go out and do that if you want Paul George, which it sounds like the Lakers do. So that's kind of the plan here. Now, I am hearing a little bit of, well, then why aren't the Lakers giving out 1-year deals? Why aren't those getting done yet? And I think we have to mention that the Lakers only have about $17 million in cap space. The Philadelphia 76ers had quite a bit more than that, and that's why they gave $23 million to J.J. Redick. But $17 million in cap space isn't a ton. They can try to spend that all on one player. But in general, most free agents want more than 1 year on their deal. They want 2, 3, 4 years if they can get it. They want that long-term security. So they're not going to go to the Lakers as a first option. Instead, we're going to see all these other deals happen first, and then maybe they'll get back to the Lakers if we have some free agent who isn't able to find an offer elsewhere. So anyway, that's kind of the story. That's what we're seeing right now. And as you said, Hannah, Pelinka said that this is what they're going to do. This shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. I know people are always excited and always kind of hoping that something big happens, but the Lakers are doing exactly what they told us to. They told us that they would do. So there's really no reason to panic or be alarmed or anything like that. So interesting stuff. So Hannah, so far free agency has been, I don't know, it's been a little crazy, but not too bad. What's been your favorite deal of free agency up to this point?
Honestly, I don't want to say it was my favorite, but something that I found the most shocking was Paul George to Oklahoma. And I know that we're going to get into that in a little bit, but that was just something, you had heard, the Celtics and Cleveland and even Houston were, in talks with Indiana about trying to get Paul George. And then he just randomly almost goes to Oklahoma. And, of course, Jimmy Butler, going to Minnesota, that was another one that was really shocking to me as well. So those were two I think that definitely stuck out, the most to me. But I think those are two that really stuck out with, the most with everyone, honestly.
Well, what about free agent signings?
Honestly, one of the biggest free agent signings that just happened right now was the Paul Millsap going for 3 years to Denver for $30 million. I mean, in my opinion, that was just kind of to give Paul Millsap. I mean, listen, he's a really good player, but to give Paul Millsap, $30 million over the course of 3 years, that's a lot of money to me. I know a couple years ago when we were giving Kobe that, people were losing their minds, and just to see, Denver give that much to Paul Millsap is something that really was a little bit shocking to me. But also, I think the biggest thing that I've just noticed this free agency is just how much stronger the Western Conference got in terms of getting Butler, Paul George, now Paul Millsap. I mean, the Western Conference now is stacked, and the Eastern Conference lost 3 of its, best players. So that was something that really stuck out to me, and I think is something that, is definitely going to make, the Western Conference even more, competitive, which it's already, extremely competitive.
Right. And let's just to start with that Millsap contract. Yeah, $30 million per year for 3 years, $90 million total. And I think the one thing that kind of saves it, though, is that last year. That final year is actually a team option. So third year team option. So I don't think that's too bad. I think he's going to be a great fit. But you're right. If you look at the West, I mean, Minnesota got a lot better. Denver got a lot better. Right? You've got all these teams that are improving. Oklahoma City, of course, got better. I don't know that you can count the Clippers out of the playoffs just yet. So there's going to be good teams in the West that end up missing the playoffs. I mean, you could very well see a 500 team not make the playoffs next year. And that's just crazy. I mean, the Eastern Conference is just a wasteland at this point. I mean, you've got LeBron James, John Wall, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and that's kind of it. I mean, no disrespect to Isaiah Thomas, of course, he's in there too, and I know there's a few other guys here and there, but for the most part, everybody has gone west, and people who were excited about this Lakers team next year and hoping the Lakers would make the playoffs, well, that task just got a lot more difficult because now we see Denver getting closer to the playoffs. Minnesota, I would assume, is going to expect to be in the playoffs. It's going to be a tough go of it. Overall, it's I think teams have been a little bit more frugal this summer. They aren't kind of giving out these bad deals. I mean, we aren't seeing the Luol Deng contracts or the Timofey Mozgov contracts. I mean, you could argue that the worst contract so far might be Blake Griffin, right? I mean,
yeah, definitely.
What'd you think of that Blake Griffin deal?
I think in a little bit of a way, I think that's the Clippers maybe trying to hold on to something. I think obviously, trading Chris Paul to Houston, obviously Chris Paul came to them and said, look, I'm not going to re-sign with you guys. So, best to try to get something for me, which I still don't think, they got enough for Chris Paul, honestly, in my opinion. But I think, I think that deal was just trying to maybe solidify to the fans, like, we're going to keep Blake Griffin, we're going to keep something, I mean, I don't know. I think maybe Blake Griffin should have definitely played his options and kind of played his cards a little bit more. But, he is coming off an injury. I don't know, maybe anything going on behind the scenes with that. But that was something that I did think he got a little too much, yeah.
Yeah, latest rumor is that he might not even start next season because he's still recovering from his injury. So we'll see where all that goes. Yeah, I would definitely be a bit nervous if I was the Clippers, given his injury history. But they're talking about trying to build a new arena, so you kind of need a star to build around, and I guess that's going to be Blake Griffin. But I don't know. I would definitely be worried about giving him that much money. Anyway, let's get into some of the guys that the Lakers are pursuing, because especially today, I mean, these rumors have been breaking. We know the Lakers aren't going to be going for any of the top guys, but still, two guys that we've heard about that the Lakers have been actually talking to are our old friend Rajon Rondo and Dion Waiters. And why don't we start with Waiters? So, Hannah, tell me, what do you think about the Lakers pursuing Dion Waiters? Is this realistic? And what do you think of the fit with LA?
I really like Dion Waiters. I would be pretty satisfied if the Lakers were able to get him for 1 year. I don't know if that's something that's going to be a possibility. He was Rob Pelinka's former client. I don't think he is anymore, so maybe they will have a little bit of a tie-in there that could possibly help us. But you know what? He's a player that's, on the rise. He played really well for Miami last season. And, he's a player that I think would be an exciting signing for the Lakers. He's a shooting guard. We obviously need a shooting guard. He'd provide us with, I think he averaged around 16 points last year for Miami. He has been injured and had been a little bit injury prone, but when he's playing, he's a good, solid player. So I would be pretty happy with that signing.
Yeah, as you mentioned, he was a former client of Rob Pelinka's. Rob Pelinka can't have clients anymore now that he's general manager of the Lakers. He had to give up his role as an agent because it would be a conflict of interest. You can't do that. So Dion Waiters, I would like it. I'd be all for that if they can get him for a year. I question whether or not they can actually get him for a year, though. He was on a 1-year contract last year in Miami because when he was in Oklahoma City, they declined they gave him a qualifying offer, and then they rescinded that qualifying offer, and then he signed a 1-year deal in Miami. It was only, I think, $2.8 million, something like that. So it was a pretty small contract. So this is a guy that hasn't really had a big long-term deal because before that he was on his rookie contract. So my concern with Waiters is that even if the Lakers offer up their the best they can, right? They've got about $17 million in cap space available. Let's say they offered up $16 million for 1 year. I still don't know if that's enough if you've got another team out there offering, say, 12, 13, 14 million over 4 years. If you have a club out there offering a long-term deal for a guy like Waiters, I think that's going to hold a lot more appeal than a one-year deal with the Lakers. The Rob Pelinka connection, that's real. That's right there, boom. They got a meeting with Waiters, so that's a great sign that Rob Pelinka's life as an agent is already paying positive dividends for the Lakers. But at the same time, you got to wonder if Waiters' meeting with the Lakers was more just out of kindness to Rob Pelinka than a real thing, because the Lakers have made it clear that they can only give out a 1-year contract. Now, as you mentioned, he's a shooting guard. He's actually a better defender than people realize. He actually did pretty well last year in Miami defensively, so that would be a great fit right there if they could get him. I like the way he actually passed the ball. He's known as kind of a black hole on offense, but the stats say otherwise. He averaged 4.3 assists per game last season for Miami. Did a good job moving the ball along. He did have injury problems, but he was still pretty good. And you got to love that he shot 40% from three. So it seems like he would be a really, really good fit for the Lakers, but I just don't know that they can get him. That would be my big concern. At 25, guy hasn't had a big contract yet. I have a feeling in the end he's going to go for the security, and he's going to go for a long-term deal rather than a short-term deal with the Lakers. But still, would be a solid Nick Young replacement with Dion Waiters. Hey, speaking of Nick Young, did you see the rumors of Nick Young going to the Golden State Warriors?
Yeah, he's ring chasing a little bit.
That would be interesting. He's made some comments in the past about not really liking the Warriors fan base so much, but I think he'd be a pretty good fit there. I wouldn't be too sad if Swaggy P ended up with the Warriors, just because I think it would give him a chance to really succeed on a big stage. But what are your thoughts? Do you think he'd really fit in with the culture in Golden State?
Yeah, I think he would. He's a shooter. They love shooters over, down in Golden State. And, I think I love Swag. I always want the best for him. So if he can go there, get a ring, why not? I always wish the best for him. I think I think the fans would like him a lot too. So you never know, but I think that would be a good fit for him.
Yeah, when he's hitting his shots, then he is one of the most fun players to watch. He's He's a really funny guy, obviously great personality and everything. And he would get a ton of open looks in Golden State. So it'd be interesting to see what he could do there. Obviously, the Lakers did reach out to him. But again, how eager is he to accept a 1-year deal? Especially he's into his 30s now. He's probably looking for his last big contract. So we'll kind of see what ends up happening with him. Let's move on to the next guy, though. When this rumor broke, it seemed like, and I don't know if this is just a sign of how people feel about him or not, but when rumors broke about Rajon Rondo coming to the Lakers, and then today Ramona Shelburne tweeted something saying, yes, this is real. This is something the Lakers are really considering. It seemed like every response was either kind of something along the lines of, okay, we'll give it a shot, or just anger, right? I mean, people just are not happy about the possibility of Rondo winding up with the Lakers. So let's break this down a little bit. What do you think about former Celtic Rajon Rondo winding up in Lakers purple and gold?
It's honestly not my favorite scenario, Trevor. Like you said, I got a lot of tweets earlier from people just, not very happy about it. And I agree, But another thing, to think of is I can't see Rajon Rondo being the kind of guy who would just sit back and kind of play backseat to Lonzo Ball. I think he's a guy that, is pretty cocky, confident. He's hot-headed. I think he still thinks he's, could be the best player on, a great team. So I can't see him wanting to take on that more like mentorship role. But I mean, you never know if Magic's a convincing guy, if he can get him to buy in, but I don't think it's a good fit, honestly. I don't know why he would want to come to the Lakers. He, like I said, I just can't see him taking that backseat role, and he's a former Celtic. Like, come on. I don't know. I don't like that fit that much, but, at the end of the day, if he accepts that role with open arms, which I highly doubt, then maybe I'd be open to it. I don't know, though.
Yeah, I mean, the whole Celtics thing going on. I mean, yeah, that's obviously it's a little bit of a bad taste in your mouth if you're a Lakers fan, especially when the Lakers played against Rondo in the finals and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, to be fair, hey, Rick Fox was a Celtic too, and now he's mostly remembered as a Laker. Not that would happen with Rondo, but Rondo is 31. I see what the Lakers are doing here, right? Because if you look at their roster, you look at their depth chart right now. You've got Lonzo Ball at point guard and then nothing else, right? Unless you're operating under the assumption that Jordan Clarkson is a point guard, which I don't know if you can do that right now. But if you are, then maybe he's got some backup minutes. But the Lakers are really, really thin at the point guard position, and they are pretty thin at shooting guard too. I mean, they've got Josh Hart, maybe David Nwaba, but David Nwaba can't space the floor much. And then Jordan Clarkson, maybe you consider him a 2, maybe you consider him a 1, so he's in there as well. But they really need a backup point guard. And if you're looking at this team is so young. Right, they lost Timofey Mozgov. Now you replaced him with Brook Lopez, who's 29, but still you lost Mozgov, so you lost a veteran there. You've lost Nick Young, who's another veteran. Meta World Peace, you lost him too. There's another vet. They just waived Tarik Black, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And so there's another kind of, he's I believe 25-ish. So there's another guy who's a little bit older that you've lost, and you've replaced them with some really young players. So this team really needs a veteran voice in there. And so I kind of get it. In that regard, I get adding a veteran point guard, but I just don't know if Rondo is the right guy. I don't know if he's the right fit. I do have some concerns about his skill set. Do you have the same issues? Like, does his skill set worry you at all?
Yeah, well, in my opinion, I think the thing that just contradicts Rondo coming to the Lakers the most is just the fact that he's going to demand the ball. He's going to want the ball in his hand. And I don't think it's kind of almost like, a couple years ago we had Kobe with all these young guys, and we were saying that, Kobe playing so many minutes was deteriorating and taking away from, our younger players getting the chance to develop. In my opinion, it's kind of something like that. I think that it's going to stall our younger players' development if he's in, because he's going to demand the ball. He's going to want to play, bigger minutes. And like I said earlier, I would be shocked if he said, listen, I'll sit back. I'll let Lonzo be the leader. I mean, I would just be shocked with that. So, yeah, I can't see, honestly, Rajon Rondo, fitting in. I understand where the Lakers, we're a very young team. Out of the 13 guys that we have right now, I think only Brook Lopez, Corey Brewer, and obviously Luol Deng are over 25. So I can understand. And I agree with the fact that we do need to add in some veteran presence. But I don't think Rajon Rondo's the guy.
See, when I was naming veterans on the Lakers, I completely forgot about Corey Brewer. And
Yes.
and maybe that's a sign of kind of how I see this roster. I don't really think of him as being a huge part of it, even though he's still decent sometimes. But yeah, I completely forgot about Corey Brewer. But yeah, I get your point there. I do disagree somewhat, just as far as Rondo being able to take a back seat, because I think that Magic Johnson and Rob Pelinka would make it very clear ahead of time that it's about Lonzo now, and that if Rondo's going to come to the Lakers, he's not coming as a starter, or he's not coming as a star anymore. Now maybe that changes, and Rondo during the course of the season decides he wants to be that again or something. But I would think going into it that they would already have that discussion with Rondo, so he would know kind of what his role is on the team, for better or for worse.
Of course, no, I totally agree with that. I mean, I'm just saying I don't know why Rondo would want to come to the Lakers. Just knowing his personality, I don't understand. I don't know why he would ever think it would be a good fit, Because, I mean, I completely agree. It's all 100% about Lonzo, and I know Magic, has made that clear and would make that very clear to Rondo. So that's why I just don't see him even wanting to come, So that's why when I saw the tweet saying, there's mutual interest, I was kind of like, I was definitely questioning that a little bit, but you never know.
Right. I mean, what was really strange was when it came out just a few hours ago that Rajon Rondo's camp touched base with the Lakers. It wasn't the Lakers contacting him about joining the team or anything like that, or exploring, potentially signing a one-year contract. It was Rondo reaching out to the Lakers saying, hey, what do you think about me coming on board? So interesting. I mean, yeah, you would think that as a veteran he would want to go to a winning situation, but maybe that's not there for him. I mean, maybe that doesn't exist right now. He's bounced around a bunch. I mean, he went from Boston to Dallas to Sacramento to now Chicago, and so maybe he's just looking for something different. I don't know. It seems like the Lakers and Rajon Rondo have kind of been just dancing around each other for the last few years. I mean, he's been kind of constantly on the periphery. He's one of those guys that's always seems to be rumored to wind up with the Lakers. Maybe it actually happens now, but we'll see. I don't know that his overall skill set is great for the Lakers, because they're going to be trying to run this very pass-friendly offense. And when people think about Rajon Rondo, they think, about his passing skills. And he is a very good passer, but he likes to dribble for a while before he passes. He's the kind of guy that likes to probe into the paint, dribble around, and then dump the ball off to a cutter for a finish. He picks up a lot of assists that way. He's not like Lonzo Ball, where the ball is getting moved early and then whipped around the perimeter, and it's just moving really fast. That's the type of point guard Ball is. Rondo is more the pound the rock kind of guy. He'll dribble out of possession and everything. And of course, he's not a great shooter. So the Lakers said they wanted great character from the players that they had, which you can question whether or not Rondo is that. He certainly had his issues in the past.
Yes.
They want shooting, right? So they want those things. They want a winning mentality, and I don't see those things in Rondo. Maybe winning mentality. He does play hard. Kobe Bryant respects the hell out of him. He is one of those guys that kind of always got along with Kobe, just because they operate on a similar wavelength. But the shooting isn't there. I don't know if the passing is the right fit. I don't know. I'm trying to stay optimistic on this, but I just don't know that Rondo really is the right fit. If let's just say hypothetically, let's say the offer is low enough. Let's say he's asking for less than $10 million and he's good with a 1-year deal. Would you take him, Hannah, if the call was up to you, or would you kind of hold off and rather pursue somebody else like Tyler Ennis or somebody like that?
If we can get absolutely no one else is taking our offer, then I would consider it, if he's willing to do a 1-year, $10 million or below deal. But, I would love to give it to Tyler Ennis. I really like the way he played for the Lakers. It's just, again, going to come into the fact that our team is so young right now. It's just like at some point we do have to add in a few veterans, to kind of help balance it out a little bit. But if Rajon Rondo, oh goodness, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but if Rajon Rondo is willing to take 1 year, $10 million or less, and, understands and agrees clearly that his role is to just kind of be more of a mentor, obviously Lonzo's the man, kind of take more of a backseat, then I would say, oh my gosh, then yes, I would do it.
Do you feel kind of gross now?
Yeah, I know. I do. I feel like I need to take a shower or something, honestly. Or definitely rinse like my mouth out with Listerine or soap. I can't even believe I said it.
So you said that if everybody else declined the Lakers offer, so if Rajon Rondo is like the last point guard available, then you take him. I don't know how the Lakers feel about it. I guess we'll find out. They may see him in a different light, and the character flaws and everything. I'm always a little bit gun shy about characterizing somebody as being like a locker room cancer or just a negative on the team and a negative person. He's had issues in the past, but I mean, I always think about Metta World Peace and how he was seen as this total loose cannon and this just crazy person after the whole Malice at the Palace thing, right? With the Pacers.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, he's winning like Citizen of the Year awards. He's become an advocate for mental health and all kinds of stuff. And so, I mean, people can change over time. And who knows? Maybe a mentor role is exactly what Rondo needs, and he'll be a great person to relate to Lonzo Ball. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't say that's likely, but I suppose it's possible. But yeah, I'm having a hard time just getting on board with bringing on Rondo. But we'll have to see what the Lakers end up doing there. One stat that I did pull up earlier, they got a bunch of people mad, was that Rondo over the last 2 years has actually been a better 3-point shooter percentage-wise than D'Angelo Russell.
I saw that. You ruffled a few feathers there. I definitely saw that.
I mean, I think that you have to add the asterisk to that because I mean, teams are running away from Rajon Rondo when he's got the ball beyond the 3-point line. So they're asking him to shoot that shot, whereas Russell is getting guarded pretty heavily. So it's very, very different. But still, just weird because you never think of that because everybody thinks that Rondo is just a complete non-shooter. But we'll see. We'll see what the Lakers end up doing. Hopefully, they're able to add somebody pretty soon. I mean, we know that they're going to be patient. And that they're not going to give out more than 1 year. So it's going to kind of depend on who really needs a deal as the money starts getting thin, which I think we are starting to hit that point in the free agent process.
One guy that I did want to bring up that just kind of became available within the last couple of hours, I think, is Shabazz Muhammad. The Timberwolves just kind of waived him to make money for Taj Gibson. I think he could be a good fit for the Lakers. He's a guy out of UCLA. He was very, very highly ranked, and he's just kind of a guy who never really got his shot. So I think when you're thinking of someone who would be interested in possibly taking that 1-year deal, I think Shabazz Muhammad could be that guy because, he's kind of looking to revamp his career. He's never really gotten that opportunity to prove himself and live up to, the expectations set for him. So I think I wouldn't be surprised if the Lakers maybe gave a little bit more of a better look into Shabazz Muhammad. So that's someone that just kind of came available that I was thinking could be a possible good fit.
Yeah, that's an interesting name to throw out there. I think offensively he could be an interesting fit for the Lakers. Defensively, he's not great, but then again, I mean, the Lakers don't really have many people on the team that are great defenders, so it's not like he would stand out as being a poor defender. But I don't know if he's a step in the right direction that way. But yeah, he'd definitely be an interesting one to explore. He's just 24 years old, so maybe some long-term potential, some upside there. Somebody that could be kind of a bit of a reclamation project for them. So yeah, he's definitely one that they should take a look at.
Yeah, he might be willing to take that 1-year deal for, less money just to kind of get that chance. It's an option. Lakers, we're pretty thin with our options right now, so you got to kind of, look around. But yeah, he could be someone that could be a potential.
Absolutely, yeah. They definitely, beggars can't be choosers at this point. They've got to be looking for just whoever they can get to kind of take that 1-year deal, and hopefully they find somebody that meshes with the team. But again, this year isn't really their big year for free agency. Instead, that's going to be next year. So we'll see. They're going to have to make some smart moves here, and Rob Pelinka and Magic Johnson are going to have to do their job and really sell the team here and get somebody good in. But we'll see what happens. So let's move on here because we've been talking about Rondo enough and Dion Waiters and all these other guys, and maybe they bring back Tyler Ennis. We'll see. I don't know if they can really pay him enough, but that's an option. So we've been talking a little bit about the Lakers cap space and how they have just over $17 million, and one of the reasons why they do have that much is because they did make the decision to waive reserve center Tarik Black. Hannah, what do you think about that decision?
Yeah, this was something that was definitely bittersweet. I'm a big Tarik Black fan. He's a great guy. He's a great leader, a great spokesman. He's one of those players that gives his all whenever he's on the court. But unfortunately, he just can't space the floor. We already faced that issue with Larry Nance and Randall, and we just drafted Kyle Kuzma, who we believe, will be an effective three-point shooter. And unfortunately for Tarik, we've made, Plinka and Magic have said over and over again, and we made it clear that we need guys who can space the floor and make threes. And unfortunately for Tarik, that's just not his strong suit. But, like I said, he's a great guy, and it was definitely hard to see him go.
Yeah, I mean, we mentioned this on LakersNation.com a little bit when the news broke, but it's tough because Tarik is such a great leader, and so you want him around the young guys for that reason, but there just wasn't much of a role for him on the team because you've got guys like Ivica Zubac and of course Brook Lopez, and now you've got Thomas Bryant occupying the center spot. So with guys like that in play, plus Julius Randle picking up some small ball minutes at the 5, maybe even Larry Nance Jr., there's just not that much space on the roster for him. So you get it, even though a $6.6 million team option, they would have paid him $6.6 million if they had picked up the option for next year. That's not that bad for a guy like Tarik Black. And I think they'll definitely miss him as far as his leadership goes. Great guy, just awesome personality. I've had the pleasure of speaking to him a few times, and you always come away with something just amazing from him. Just an incredible sense from the guy because he's such he's just an interesting person. I mean, the guy's got a master's degree. He sees himself as a leader, and he wants to mentor youth and do all these great things. So we'll definitely feel the loss there. And on the court, he's certainly awesome as well. But one of the unfortunate sides of this, having to lose him. Would you consider bringing back Thomas Robinson because Tarik is gone, or do you think he's kind of in the same situation?
I wouldn't, just because if we were going to bring in another center, then I would have just picked up Tarik Black, his contract. I think that, like you said, we have Zubac and we have Brook Lopez. We don't really need many players in that position. We only have, 2 spots left, and we need to focus on bringing in some guards and some shooters. It should be our main focus. So I don't think, I like Thomas Robinson as well, but I think if the Lakers were going to bring in a center or do that, then they would have just picked up Tarik Black's contract.
Yeah, agreed. Unfortunately, I think both guys are just kind of a casualty of, well, for one thing, the way Luke wants to run his system with shooters on the perimeter. He wants to have his bigs be able to stretch the floor, and neither Tarik nor Thomas Robinson can do that. And also just a victim of the need for a roster spot. I mean, the Lakers need spots open in order to add players. They've got 4 rookies coming in this year, so that's never easy to find spots for all those guys. So unfortunately, I think Tarik Black and most likely Thomas Robinson as well will end up being the casualties. Let's talk a little bit about this Paul George thing, because the Paul George trade went down after my last podcast was published. So this Paul George trade with Oklahoma City, I just see it as a total theft. So we'll get into the analysis of how it relates to the Lakers and all that kind of stuff in just a second here. But what's your overall take on the deal?
I was shocked by it because, like I said earlier, I didn't hear anything about Oklahoma. I never thought he was going to go to Oklahoma. You heard, obviously Cleveland, Houston, Boston, but then when you randomly hear, he's been traded to Oklahoma and for nothing, Lakers were offering a much better deal than what they ended up getting for him, So I heard that Indiana kind of traded him to Oklahoma despite him, that they were never going to trade him to the Lakers regardless of what the Lakers offered, unless it was someone like Lonzo or Brandon Ingram. But, I think it definitely doesn't hurt the Lakers. I think it would have definitely hurt them more if he would have gone to a team like Cleveland or Boston and kind of gotten that taste of a championship. Because I don't know then if he would have been more inclined to stay. Obviously, we've heard the rumors where he said, no matter what, I'm coming to the Lakers in 2018. I don't know how much of that we can, I think we have to take that with a grain of salt. But at the same time, I think him going to Oklahoma does definitely play into our plan a little bit better. Westbrook is a great player. He's honestly one of my favorite players in the NBA today, just because I have a ton of respect for him, for his loyalty to the franchise, for just how hard he plays, his, win all or go home mentality. But, he is a guy that is hard to play with, so Paul George, I think, he could go there and they could not, have good chemistry or whatever. And just besides that, I don't think that Paul George and Russell Westbrook are going to be a better team than, Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant. So I'm sure they'll make the playoffs. But at the same time, I don't think they're going to go, I think they're going to go out in the second round. So I think that definitely plays off for Paul George coming to LA in 2018. Hopefully, maybe even they might even be maybe more inclined to accept a trade with the Lakers. Possibly if Paul George comes to them and says, listen, I'm not going to re-sign with you guys regardless next year. Maybe they'll listen to the Lakers offer and we'll be able to get him earlier. But either way, I think it definitely doesn't hurt the Lakers. I think if anything, it definitely plays into our plan for getting Paul George in 2018, if not sooner.
Right. I think at this point, the Lakers' plan has to be just to wait till next summer. I mean, there's no real point to trade for him at the trade deadline because it doesn't really give you that much of an advantage. But yeah, the trade itself, I mean, when that came through, I couldn't believe it. And Indiana has been just absolutely raked over the coals for this deal. I mean, everybody in the media has just been dropping bombs on these guys for accepting a deal like this, and it's that bad. I mean, it really is one of the worst trades we've seen recently. And here's how bad it is. Like it's bad that the Pacers are trading Paul George for Oladipo and for Sabonis. I mean, that's bad. And then when you factor in that there's only 1 year left on the deal on Paul George's contract, it's still terrible. Like, even if Paul George is just a 1 year rental for Oklahoma City, they still win this deal by a ton. That's how terrible the return is for the Pacers, that it doesn't really matter if I mean, obviously it does matter for Oklahoma City if they're able to retain Paul George or not. But in terms of this deal, even if Paul George leaves after 1 year, Oklahoma City still wins by a ton because they cleared Oladipo's contract off. He was making $21 million a year for the next 4 years, and at best, that's just a net neutral deal. I mean, that's not a phenomenal contract. It's just okay. I mean, if Oladipo lives up to expectations, he's probably worth somewhere close to that. But it's not like he's this insane value deal. So really, the Pacers didn't really get very many positives. I mean, Sabonis is okay. He's not great. And yeah, you can say that the Lakers offer was better. I certainly would think Julius Randle and 2 first-rounders is a much better offer than what the Pacers ended up accepting. But we know, yeah, they didn't really want to send George to the Lakers. They didn't want to give him what he wanted unless they clearly won the deal. At least that's what ESPN's Ramona Shelburne said. And the Boston offer apparently didn't really materialize. Maybe Boston didn't really believe that an Oklahoma City deal was close to actually happening. The deal with Cleveland never materialized, so those things just didn't come through. And then Indiana decided to ship him off. I mean, I was stunned that was the return that they got for him, and it's going to set Indiana back quite a bit. I mean, just getting that poor of a return, I don't know what they're going to do at this point. They're in big trouble. I mean, worst case scenario is Oladipo allows them to win just enough games to keep their draft pick from being really good next year. So Indiana's in a tough spot. Great for the Thunder, right? Big pickup for Russell Westbrook, but I still think the Lakers are a winner in this. I really do. I think the Lakers are a winner in this trade, even though they didn't get Paul George, because Oklahoma City is not Los Angeles. It's just not. And if Paul George is hanging out with Westbrook and they're in Oklahoma City and things go well, even then, I think that this is that after spending a year in Oklahoma City, he's going to be looking at Los Angeles, thinking, man, I really want to come there. I really want to come home. So we'll see what ends up happening with that. But I do not think this is a bad thing for the Lakers at all. At least that's my take on it. Can you see both Westbrook and George coming?
I've seen a lot of people who are thinking that, this is great practice for them when they both come to the Lakers next year. But, I don't necessarily – I love Russell Westbrook. So if he wants to come to the Lakers, I would be happy with it. But at the same time, I don't know why we would get a guy like Lonzo Ball if we're just going to have Russell Westbrook, come the next year. I don't think he's coming to the Lakers. But again, you really never know. I think – like you said, I think this was definitely probably the best case scenario for the Lakers, besides getting him this summer in keeping Julius and everyone, but, you just have to kind of wait and see. It's also going to be interesting to see, within the next couple weeks if Russell Westbrook signs a contract extension with Oklahoma, because that could kind of have a lot that you would be able to see, maybe if Paul George is going to stay there, or kind of what the plans are for that. I think a lot is going to come down to if Russell Westbrook signs an extension in Oklahoma. It's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, that's a great point about the Westbrook extension. We know Oklahoma City is going to offer that, but we don't know if Westbrook will actually sign it. And yeah, some people have been saying, hey, Paul George has now got, everybody says, hey, Oklahoma City has a year to convince Paul George to stay. Well, other people are saying Paul George has a year to convince Westbrook to leave and go to the Lakers with him. And maybe that's something we could see happen. As you mentioned, though, Westbrook really isn't a great fit with Lonzo Ball. But you know what? There's other players that are going to be out there in free agency next summer too. So the Lakers are really in a good spot here, right? I likened this a little bit to the situation at the end of last season. Remember that streak the Lakers went on when everybody was like losing their minds because they were blowing their draft lottery odds?
Oh yeah, no, totally.
When Tyler Ennis was like going nuts against the San Antonio Spurs and everything, and I said at the time, I said, hey, the Lakers drop a few spots and they still keep their pick, which ended up happening.
Yeah.
And you get the best of both worlds. You get to not only have a winning streak and end the season on a high note, but you also get to keep your pick. So you get two really good things out of it. Yeah, it's a risk, but the reward could be pretty high. And I think this is the same thing, because the Lakers didn't have to give up any of their assets, right? They still have Julius Randle. They still have Brandon Ingram and Lonzo Ball and all these other pieces, Jordan Clarkson, right? They've got all these pieces that they get to keep. They get to hang on to them. And now next summer, if they get Paul George anyway, then they got to keep all of their assets. They still got the superstar in Paul George. Yeah, they didn't get him this summer, but that could end up being a blessing in disguise. Just like the Lakers winning games at the end of the season ended up being a blessing in disguise. Had they not won those games, had they kept the second worst record, they would have dropped to fourth like the Phoenix Suns did, and they would have lost their pick. So you never know how these kind of things are going to work out. Hopefully this ends up being a situation that ends up being a positive for the Lakers, that they get to keep their assets and land Paul George. Could be really, really phenomenal. But we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening. I think it's going to be an interesting fit playing with Russell Westbrook, though. And I don't know that they're going to... they'll be fine because they're super talented and all that kind of stuff. But who knows if Paul George is really going to enjoy playing with Westbrook, which you kind of alluded to, right? Westbrook isn't exactly the easiest guy to always play with.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also going back to what you said earlier, it is all kind of coming down to fate. And I think everything's kind of paving the way, for the Lakers. We were able to get Lonzo, which I think we were going to get Lonzo regardless. I think, LeVar, I think whatever, it was going to happen. I think Lonzo was just a guy that was just destined to play for the Lakers, and just some way, somehow, it was just going to happen. And I think, I'm starting to think it's looking like Paul George is destined to play for the Lakers as well. So, you never know, but at this point, I'm thinking he'll definitely be on our roster by next summer.
Oh, so, okay. So then if Paul George does come and Lonzo Ball is still a Laker, he ends up being successful and all that kind of stuff, then are the Lakers a team of destiny?
Ooh, we could say that. That could be our new theme.
The Los Angeles Lakers, team of destiny, right? You've got Paul George, Lonzo Ball, all these guys. Yeah, could be very, very fun. Now, unfortunately, I was kind of hoping that while we were recording here, something would break. Like it would just be breaking news. The Lakers went and signed somebody, but it hasn't happened yet. We know we're kind of going to have to be patient because the Lakers are only offering these 1-year deals.
Yeah.
Hey, before we sign off here, any final takes on free agency or what's going on with the Lakers, or any other thoughts that you want to toss out here?
I think, again, as fans, we get a little frustrated because we buy into these rumors and we let the media really get us excited and hype us up. But I think overall, we're sticking to our original plan, which is just be patient this summer. We're going to fill those spots. We're going to sign a couple of guys, these random guys on these 1-year deals. And next summer is going to be our big year. So overall, I can understand where the frustration is with the fans. But you know what? At the same time, we're sticking to our original plan, and I think it's all going to be good. And come this time next summer, we're going to have a great team, and we're going to be the team of fate, Trevor.
All right. So one last thing that I did want to add in that I forgot to mention when I was ranting there about Paul George is that the nice thing about him going to Oklahoma City instead of going to Boston, right, where they could potentially have enough room to renegotiate and extend his contract, Oklahoma City really can't do that. Their cap situation isn't the same. So no matter what, Paul George is going to be a free agent next summer, unless for some reason he opts in, but that's highly unlikely. So Paul George is going to be a free agent. He's certainly going to listen to the Lakers, which means at some point next summer, probably June 30th at midnight Eastern time, Magic Johnson and Rob Pelinka are going to sit down face-to-face in a room with Paul George. And that's exciting because that's a big part of the appeal of having Magic Johnson and Rob Pelinka running the team is that these are two guys that can really sell the Lakers and sell the experience and sell all that. So I'm excited about seeing what happens there. Hopefully they're successful because that's the place where the Lakers have failed in the past. So yeah, I'm not disappointed that Paul George isn't a Laker this season, but instead I'm excited for what's going to happen next summer.
Exactly, and I'm willing to wait it out another year if we're able to keep Julius and Jordan. If we can get Paul George, we don't have to give anything up. It's a win-win. So I'm totally willing to ride it out this season. If Paul George is a Laker by this time next year, which I really think he will be, it's completely gone according to plan, and it'll be a definite win for the Lakers.
All right, well, I think that's going to about wrap things up for today. Now we've got, of course, free agency still going on. I'm going to have a midweek show where we're going to talk about Summer League and everything to look forward to with that. We do have that coming up very, very soon. Summer League is just right around the corner, just a few days away. So lots of exciting stuff going on for the Lakers, and hopefully there will be some signings to discuss on our next show. Hannah, thank you, as always. Thank you so much for coming on with us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always so much fun talking all things Lakers with you guys. And I know it doesn't seem like a lot's going on at the moment. Things are stalled, but trust me, I think a lot of it's going on behind the scenes and everything's going according to plan. So I'm pretty satisfied with how it's going right now. Definitely.
I mean, this is what the Lakers have told us to expect. So still, I'm expecting some kind of signing at some point, but just it's going to take time to get through the whole process and everything like that. So that wraps things up for today's show. As always, you can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, the CLNS Media app, and of course, LakersNation.com. My name is Trevor Lane, and this has been the Lakers Nation Podcast.